Hi, everybody. I was drinking some water backstage, and just want to let you know, these badges are really fertile. The planning team gave me the grace to close out today. And it's a difficult thing to do when you've been working on something for a year, collectively with a group of folks that you didn't know to begin with, blindly trusting, kind of walking into the complete unknown, a little bit like you guys here today. So when I asked them if I could get a few minutes at the end to summarize the day, half of them went pie-eyed, the other half kind of scratched their head, and I thought, I might be onto something here. So they asked me what I was going to say, and I said, I got it covered, but to be honest with you, I have no idea. Just kidding. A couple months ago, one of the few times it snowed this year, it was a particularly bad day in the TEDx planning team. There's a few things that were pretty high risk for us, and the threat of failure was pretty visible and clear. Failure to us was possibly no event, and so I was having a rough day, so I decided to fire up Little Red, my snowblower, and go out on the deck and snowblow. Kind of feeling sorry for myself a little bit, wondering what everybody else did wrong rather than what I did wrong. And so as I was snowblowing, weirdest thing happened. I was on the front deck, and there was something that caught the corner of my eye, and I'm plowing like crazy, and I looked over, and there was this little mouse, just plowed right out of the snow himself. That's the story I told my wife. The real story was, I actually shot the mouse out of the snowblower. So I ran in the house and told her I saw this cute little mouse, and luckily he was fine and no animals were hurt in the making of this. So I looked at this mouse and I approached him, and I had a huge pile of snow, and this mouse looked at me and absolutely just bolted over the pile of snow that I just made, and I thought, wow. Now he knows what it feels like to be on a TEDx planning team. So, as a designer will, it really got me thinking about inspiration. And that mouse, turns out, was, I believe, in my opinion, my perspective, was our team. You know, the mouse really represents us. The hill, now gone, spring's here, really represents the challenge of what do more good is. And the speed at which that mouse got over that hill really made me think about, wow, now if he can do it, you know, why can't we? And so I decided, for myself at least, that I was going to do everything I could to help support the team to build this gift of the community and for the community, common unity. And so I'm going to ask a favor of you one more time. I know you're all tired, and I know that it's been a pretty exhaustive day. And I want to ask you to close your eyes for a second. And Jen was great, but I would like you to think about your idea. I read all your applications. They're truly inspiring. Half the day I feel like I was in tears because of the process of getting us here with the rest of an amazing group of folks in the planning group. So if you would close your eyes and think of yourself as a mouse. It's really not that hard. Both mice and humans share 99% of our DNA. In fact, we even have genes for tails. That may explain why I can't find pants that fit right, but and I want you to think about a mouse, whatever your mouse is, black, white, male, female, old, young. And as you have that picture of yourself, that mouse, think about your idea. What is that idea that you would do and attempt if you knew you could not fail? That's the mouse of your conception. That's the mouse of your imagination. And so I want you to hold those thoughts. Feel free to open your eyes. And, there was another mouse a long time ago. His name was Walt. Simple man. And he conceived of this mouse, which grew into this mouse 85 years later, and still growing. There's also this mouse. His name was Steve. And this mouse, his name was Mouse. And we all know what that grew into. And so, what do these mice have in common? Really? Well, besides the obvious, they're both failures. They had failures, but they didn't fail. They were both fired. They weren't very good at school. They weren't actually the best model citizens, but there was something about them that I believe is pretty profound. Because I think a very conscious effort on our part was to see what we could do when we locally grew ideas. To take those ideas with folks that some of us knew, some of us didn't, and take a leap of faith with people that could truly export their ideas and grow them. So this is locally grown, locally produced, and I think just as amazing. So I'd have to say one big applause to all of our speakers. You were wonderful. Absolutely. And Rana, thank you for your gifts. And so it kind of leads me to a really simple question. On my badge, it says, what if? What if? What if we're all this mouse? What if? About a year ago, this is a story that I haven't told anybody before. So there's one person's mind I can read in the audience, and that's my wife. And right now she's thinking, oh my God. He just came out wearing a giant bouquet and he's holding a purple mouse. So, unexpectedly, I was hearing about the teams forming and the ideas kind of blossoming for, what if we did a TEDxMacatawa? What if? I just kind of heard it in the breeze. And I was thinking, I got a design consultancy to run. I'm really busy. I don't know. More. And unexpectedly, January 3rd, last year, I got a call that my dad passed away. In fact, I raced over to the other side of the state, and he had fallen in the middle of the night. And the reason I'm telling you this is because it leads to a very simple but profound thing. We said goodbye to my dad. A day and a half later, my mom had a stroke. She passed away 3 weeks after that. So, in that process, a year ago March, we were cleaning out their apartment. And again, I didn't know if I wanted to commit. The team wasn't really forming. I wasn't sure, I'll dip my toe in. Maybe. I'm pretty busy. I got my daughters to raise, my wife, work, and I started to help clean up with the rest of the family in the process of surprise grief. And I came across this, and I hadn't seen this in a very long time. See, this was the first thing I ever designed. He actually doesn't have a name, so for Tay, we'll just call him Ugly. So Ugly was in a box of stuff at my mom and dad's condo that they had been for about a year and a half, and I realized I had made Ugly, it'll be 40 years ago this year, in a third grade economics class, sewed my thumb to his head a few times. But it was the first project I actually got to design and build, 8 years old. And I thought to myself, wow, it instantly blew me back to 8 years old when I came home riding my bike. Ugly was bungee corded to the handlebars, and I was so excited to show my mom and dad. And the thing that struck me the most was how incredibly proud of me they were. And when I got to know the other guys and gals on the planning team, they all have stories. You all have stories. And it made me realize that all we need is somebody to believe in us. And my parents hung on to that for 39 years because they saw Mighty Mouse, even when I didn't. They saw an 8-year-old Mighty Mouse. I'm not claiming to be one by any means because I do think it's a journey. I don't think you're ever really there. I don't think you could ever claim to be that. So the point is, in a world of cats, why don't we be a Mighty Mouse? When you leave today, I want you to know my biggest fear is that a sense of apathy might set in, a sense of busyness, obvious tasks, obligations, commitments, work, life. But the one thing I want to thank you all for is that you save some selves for us to plant seeds. It's spring, to grow your ideas. So that first step out the door, this is a safe environment. Save some space for doing more good. Because this mouse needs us. This mouse wants us. And so I thank all of you for supporting this common unity event. We don't know if it'll happen again. We're not sure. This was a big experiment. But we do know that we're all mice. Thank you.